Hey everyone, and welcome to today's explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to be your instructor for this one. So, have you ever really thought about what happens if a forensic investigator makes just one tiny mistake while taking a suspect's fingerprints? Or why, even with all of our crazy modern digital technology, we still rely so heavily on good old-fashioned manual inked prints? Well, in today's lesson, we are going to master the art and the science of capturing the absolute perfect fingerprint. Okay, let's just dive right in.
To start us off, I want you to picture a real-world scenario. Imagine you're working in law enforcement, or maybe you're conducting a critical background check for a high-security job. The stakes here are incredibly high. A single smudged, incomplete, or incorrectly taken print can literally derail an entire criminal investigation. Or, on the flip side, it could cause an innocent person's background check to get totally rejected. Today, we're going to learn exactly how to prevent that from happening by capturing a true forensic-grade, undeniable record. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll hit 1. The perfect impression. 2. Essential equipment. 3. The step-by-step process. 4. Troubleshooting prints. 5. Handling unique challenges. And 6. Our final review and recap.
By the time we wrap up this explainer, you're going to be able to confidently differentiate between plain and rolled impressions, identify the exact equipment you need, flawlessly execute the physical mechanics of rolling a print, troubleshoot super common quality issues like prints coming out too light or too dark, and finally adapt your technique for any unique physical challenges.
Okay, Section 1, the perfect fingerprint impression. Let's start by getting a handle on our very first foundational concept. You'll notice a breakdown here of the two main types of fingerprint records that we absolutely have to get on a single card. On one side, we've got rolled impressions. This is exactly what it sounds like. The finger is rolled from one side to the other, forming a complete 180-degree angle. We do this to capture the entire ridge pattern. On the other side, we have plain impressions, which are sometimes called slapped or flat impressions. These are pressed flat all at once at a 45-degree angle with zero rolling. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth do we need both? Well, those plain impressions at the bottom of the card are absolutely crucial. They serve as a totally independent check to verify the sequence and the accuracy of the rolled impression sitting up above them.
Moving on to Section 2, essential fingerprinting equipment. Let's see how our foundation actually translates to the physical tools we use on the job.
You honestly can't capture a perfect print without the right gear. So here is your standard toolkit as a fingerprint technician. You're going to see an inking plate. That's usually a 12-inch stainless steel or glass slab, a specific card holder to lock the paper perfectly still, a 6-inch roller, and obviously the fingerprint ink itself. And I want you to really note that we use a very specific, heavy black paste ink for this.
Now, a super common question here is, why can't we just grab a regular office stamp pad or, say, a fountain pen? Honestly, everyday inks are a complete disaster in forensic settings. They are way too thin, they dry incredibly fast, and standard stamp pad ink will smear if you even look at it wrong. But even worse, a standard stamp pad will actually reproduce the weave or the texture of the pad itself right over the subject's inked impression. That leaves you with these blotchy, pale prints that are totally useless for forensic classification. So proper, heavy black fingerprint ink, that is absolutely non-negotiable. And all of that meticulous preparation leads us right here to the standard 8x8 inches fingerprint card. This is the ultimate destination, the final resting place where all those rolled and plain impressions have to be perfectly recorded.
All right, Section 3, the step-by-step process. We know our tools, so let's actually look at how we execute this procedure.
Before we even think about rolling a print, we need to understand exactly what anatomy we're trying to capture. Take a look at the required ink coverage. The ink has to cover the finger entirely, from one edge of the nail to the other, but vertically, it needs to go all the way from the crease of the first joint right up to the tip or the bulb of the finger. If we don't ink this entire area, we risk missing vital characteristics like deltas and cores. Those are the unique center points and triangular patterns that are absolutely essential for classifying whether a print is a loop, a whorl, or an arch. Okay, here are your crucial preparation steps. First things first, make sure the inking plate and the subject's hand are entirely clean. Next, deposit a daub of that heavy printer's ink near the edge of the plate, away from you. Step 3, and this is a big one that a lot of people find kind of counterintuitive, the subject's hand has to be completely relaxed. If they try to help you roll the print, I promise they will smudge it. Finally, you want the individual standing to your right and slightly rear, roughly at a forearm's length from the fingerprinting stand. Fun fact, that stand should ideally be about 44 inches off the floor for the average person. So let's talk about the rolling mechanics, because this is where the magic happens. We really want to take advantage of the natural movement of the human forearm to prevent any awkward strain. Because of that, we roll the thumbs toward the center of the subject's body, but we roll the fingers away from the center. This totally relieves physical strain and keeps the subject's fingers relaxed, which stops them from slipping and ruining the print. You want to use a nice, light, even pressure. And then, the moment the roll is complete, lift the finger off the card with a very quick upward movement. If you do a slow, dragging lift, you're going to smear that perfect impression you just made. Up next is Section 4, Troubleshooting Poor Quality Prints, because, let's face it, things don't always go perfectly on the first try. Let's see how to fix that. Out in the real world, you are going to encounter all kinds of different skin types. If a print comes out way too light, it's almost always caused by dry skin or the fact that you just used too little pressure. The fix for that is super easy. Just apply a tiny bit of hand lotion, wipe off the excess with a lint-free cloth, and try again. On the flip side, if a print is coming out incredibly dark, you're usually dealing with wet or oily skin, or you're pushing down way too hard. Keep in mind, fingerprint ink has a grease base, so if you use excessive pressure, the ink just floods the spaces between the ridges. To fix a dark print, simply wipe the subject's fingers with an alcohol-based cleaner to act as a fast-drying agent. Section 5. Handling Unique Fingerprint Challenges. As a technician, you absolutely have to know how to adapt when subjects have temporary injuries or permanent physical anomalies. For instance, how exactly do you print a severely bent or crippled finger that simply cannot be straightened out? Well, we use a specialized tool called a spatula to carefully apply ink directly to the bent digit, and then we use a curved strip holder to capture the rolled impression. Or what about a physical anomaly, like a split thumb, meaning a thumb that actually has two nail joints? The forensic rule for this is crystal clear. You classify it as if the outer joint wasn't even there. You only use the inner joint for your classification. And I cannot stress this enough, proper documentation of these deformities is just as critical as the print itself. If your subject happens to have more than 10 fingers, you print the thumb and the next 4 fingers normally on the front, and then you print the extra digits on the back of the card with a very clear notation. For amputations, writing vague notes like missing is completely unacceptable. You have to use exact, precise notations like missing at birth or AMP right in that specific finger block. If only the tip is amputated, print whatever is left and write tip amp. For joined or webbed fingers, just roll them as completely as you possibly can together. And of course, make a detailed notation. Let's do a really quick mini summary just to lock in what we've covered so far. Remember, you have to adapt to the subject's skin condition by using alcohol wipes for oily skin or lotion for dry skin. Master those physical mechanics. Roll the thumbs inward and the fingers outward. When you're faced with a physical challenge, don't panic. Just utilize specialized tools like your spatula. And above all else, whenever there's any kind of anomaly, you must use exact, precise notations on the fingerprint card. Finally, Section 6, our final review and recap. We have covered a ton of ground today, so let's bring it all together. Here are the major, high-level concepts you absolutely need to take away from this lesson. First, those plain impressions at the bottom of the card are there specifically to verify the sequence of the rolled impressions. Second, everyday office ink will destroy your evidence. Proper, heavy, black paste ink is strictly mandatory. Third, anatomy really matters. You must ink from nail to nail and vertically from the first joint right to the tip. And finally, as a pro technician, you have to adapt to skin conditions and physical disabilities, making sure that every single anomaly is explicitly documented. Adhering to these rules isn't just best practice, it's literally the absolute bedrock of criminal identification. All right, before I let you go, I want to challenge you with a really quick self-assessment. Let's test your memory on these 3 questions. Number 1, why do we roll thumbs inward toward the subject's body? Number 2, if a print is consistently coming out way too dark, what's the most likely cause and exactly how do you fix it? And number 3, which joint do you use to classify a split thumb? I want you to think about those answers, review the concepts we went over today, and honestly, you are going to be well on your way to mastering the perfect print. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.